prepared for what's coming. And the storm came, damage, and now we're going to spend billions of dollars to recover from it. But the storm that isn't being talked about is going to be the one that's a lot more catastrophic, and that is this financial, political, geopolitical storm that is brewing. We're not paying any attention to it in this country. We're to the contrary. Both sides are claiming that. One's claiming they fix the economy, the other one's claiming they're going to fix the economy, and the Republicans are going to do it the same old way, which is cut taxes, and we're going to create jobs. And it's impossible. Romney with Bain Capital ought to know this better than anybody. You're not creating any jobs in this country because they've already dismantled it and shipped it around the world so we could use slave labor in order to increase profits for special corporate interests. It's not coming back. It's not coming back under Mitt Romney. It's not coming back under Barack Obama. It's just not coming back. And if we truly were honest with ourselves, with the people of this country, we have the ability to communicate this message effectively that we're in a world of hurt. We're in a world of financial and political hurt. We are the bully of the world. Our reputation is that around this planet. And we could truly turn the corner and fix this if we were only allowed, if we were only visited upon with the truth. But that isn't going to happen. That isn't going to happen. I was on with Fabian from Liberty yesterday, and he asked me a question, what's it going to take? And I'm going to bring Eric Lovely on because I'm going to ask you this question, Eric. What's it going to take to get somebody who is liberty-minded, and I hate even that word, freedom-minded, constitutional republic-minded candidate to get him some traction or her some traction in order to change the direction of the country? My answer to Fabian was real simple. Hey, man, I don't want to be negative, but it ain't happening. It ain't happening under this two-party system. You might as well forget that notion because we do not get to pick the people who are best to lead us. We have no choice when it comes to who will be best funded in order for us to vote on. So to think that some idea can grab hold, forget about it. Ideas are bought and paid for. That's how our political system works. The greatest idea in the world is getting nowhere unless it has the funding. This is how our political system is set up. This is why we have the same characters over and over and over again. And when it's their turn and they generate enough financial interest behind them, they will get the nod and they will get the nomination. It isn't that we don't have quality people in this country. We do. But when you completely own the political system, like corporate special interest does, there is no other choice than which they give you. So I am absolutely not optimistic that we're going to get a Ron Paul type or anybody else to jump up and be a leader in this country and get the support of the people. Forget about it. Forget about it. If they're not on the mainstream media, if they're not backed by the financial special interest, they're going nowhere. Grassroots, smash roots. They're not going anywhere. Eric Lovely, welcome to the program.
Well, Charlie, it's unfortunate that you're right. And I think that I really want to open it up with the idea that people remember what I said about Ron Paul, that I hope that when he lost, that people would learn the lesson, that he would be the catalyst to learn the lesson that no one seems to have learned. You can't, and we really have to stop. We have to stop calling it the political system. Right. We have to call it the system, because the political system, that political portion of it, is completely wholly owned and some subsidized by the corporations and the banks. The judges are one and the same. They're not going to help you. They're not going to answer your redress of grievances. I mean, you look at what's going on with the bankers right now. They had huge protests, massive, gigantic, explosive protests, and they said, okay, we're going to take care of the problem. They never said they were going to indict the individuals in the banking scandals for the foreclosures in the homes, the missing German gold. So what they've done is they have laid upon them a corporate watered-down version of fraud, and they're taking them to courts for civil fraud. And see, nobody's going to go to jail. No one cares what you think. No one cares about your individualness. And you're never going to get the money. You're never going to get the funding. The problem is that then you have to add on top of that all the rule changes this year. You also have to all the rule changes added to the committees for third parties, and so on and so forth. Look, you don't own any of it.
That's right. It isn't free and fair election. It isn't a representative democracy by any stretch.
the answer is until you pick up the individuals in a community pick up and take over the voting centers and take over local offices like sheriff to defend those communities, your voice is never going to count. Your third party is never going to get traction. Never. The key word there is never. The only way you can avoid that never is to change the way you play the game.
That's right.
It is the only way, and that's called revolution, whether you do it peaceably or by arms. When you change the way the game is played and you say, I'm no longer going to abide by your rules, the game needs to be changed, that's a revolution. And that's what you're looking at. You cannot accomplish, none of these pundits, idiots, and morons out there running around the planet talking to the freedom movement, but I'm a candidate, and I can do this, and I can go to the Senate, and I can go to the White House, and all this. It's all garbage.
No, you can't.
It's all
you can't.
garbage.
You can't. And you're right. It is garbage. And I addressed this question yesterday as well, which is, the whole argument of we get what we vote for, we get what we pay for. No, you don't. You really, really don't. And it isn't like that Goldman Sachs or J.P. Morgan or any of these other special interests need to dump, tons and tons of money. First of all, the money they're dumping into the system is out of your back pocket anyway in the first place. So let's make that clear. They're stealing from you in order to fund the kind of political influence they need to continue stealing from you. What a vicious cycle, But they don't need to own every congressman. You might have Eric Lovely down there in the undisclosed location or up here in Montana. We might have a good senator or congressman. So what? They are just as locked out as the average voter in this country. If they don't get to D.C., they don't get on a committee seat, they certainly don't follow the restrictions and limits of the Constitution. So that number one check and balance right there, the actual nation of laws, has been thrown out the window a long time ago. So if you get to D.C. and you don't spend 40 years in Congress or in the Senate, then guess what? You don't end up on the right kind of seat. If you do end up on the right kind of seat, you have so many skeletons in your closet and you have so many dollars that have been contributed to your reelection campaign one after another by these special interests, you will do absolutely anything that they demand. And this is our political system. It's not a republic. It's not a democracy. It is a complete and total tyrannical takeover of what is supposed to be representative government. And the beauty of it is we still masquerade around as representative government. We're going to be back with Eric Lovely, more Wide Awake News Radio in just a few minutes, guys. Hang tight. Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Wide Awake News. I'm doing my impersonation of Clint Eastwood right now, just me and a chair. But I want to welcome everybody back, and I want to welcome everybody over in Rents Radio and everybody on the Oracle Broadcasting and everybody in YouTube land who will be watching this. Charlie is taking the command chair once again, and we'll be getting back. But I want people to really really understand that an hour is not enough to talk about one specific topic and all the dynamics and directions that you could possibly take that topic, like voting. I mean, we could talk about the legal system alone and how it is nearly impossible for you to generate any kind of traction just from the legal aspect. Then we could take the financial aspect. Then we could take news. I mean, there is so much involved. If people, are really batting this question around, then I don't know. They're trying to grasp at straws. They're ignoring reality, whatever it is they're doing. Because people who ask this question, really, it is a pointless question. It is nothing more than, mental self-fornication.
I knew where you were going to go with that, and way to dance around it, buddy. You did a great job there. And that's kind of. We're kind of far along in the game to entertain those questions, but I think it does show that there is some encouragement, I guess. And Eric, you and I talk every Tuesday and Thursday generally, and sometimes even more than that. My hope, my optimism for a mass awakening is greatly diminished over the last couple of years, namely since the midterm election. But when people are looking for answers on what do we do to change it, at least I know they're thinking in that process. And it's a hard reality, but we're at the point now that the hard reality has to be presented, because guess what? It's almost game over. I don't know what's going to happen in a week. I don't know what's going to happen with this election. If who's going to win, Obama or Romney, I'm still staking my bet on Obama's going to end up pulling it off. But I do know that immediately after this election and early into 2013, things are going to get extremely bizarre. I think we're going to hit all kinds of different cliffs at once, and there's going to be a lot of confusion, a lot of panic, and a lot of people looking for answers, Eric.
Well, that I mean, confusion and panic. You know, all of these things. It's really funny to go back and read diaries. Okay, and you read diaries and you read the correspondences between John Adams and Thomas Jefferson, and you really can't see, except for the finer points of it, you know, the time period and so forth, but you really can't see a difference in our communications between you and I, Charlie, and between what was going on in their day. They talked about the same thing, and that is the reason why the whole mindset of the only thing that makes change is a tireless minority. And
Right.
you know, and another great man also said this, you know, in the pond of ideas, nothing ever changes until someone makes waves. And that is really what you're boiling down to. And you know, and I know that you're trying to work on some technicals there.
Yeah, I'm listening to you though. I'm listening to you. I'm working on technical stuff
Oh,
at the
no,
same
no,
time.
no
But you're
problem.
right.
I'm just saying that's where we are. Okay, we are at the same point that we were before. Our forefathers couldn't get people to listen, couldn't get people to donate to the militia, couldn't get people to donate and operate with the Minutemen and so forth. They were having real trouble getting the awakening, even to the point, Charlie, that nearly 78% of the population sided with the king.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, because they bought the status quo, the normalcy bias. They didn't want things to change. They didn't want the apple cart to be upset. And Eric, I think you're right. The ripples that you're talking about, somebody's got to make some waves. I think that something even worse than that is coming, though. I think the oppression of all the legislation that's been passed over the last couple of years is going to be realized really, really soon. And unfortunately, it isn't going to be just Eric Lovely, right? Are you all right? What was that?
That was my wife. It'll be okay.
Oh, I thought you were attacked by a bobcat. I know you're in the wilds. I thought a puma got you. It's not going to be just some kind of a TAC team going and raiding your place or shutting down alternative media. That isn't what's going to happen. I mean, the realization of this tyranny is going to come as millions of people lose whatever safety net they have right now, and they become, hopeless. They become hopeless. Can you just imagine what it looks like when the realization that this sovereign debt landmine has went off? And it's going to. This is what's going to happen. We're going to see the sovereign debt landmine go off. We're going to be asked to suck it up. We're going to be asked to do without. We're going to be asked to give more freedom away to a bunch of central bankers. And I'll get into this article on the backside of this break. And when that occurs, you're going to have millions and millions and millions of pissed off people because they've lost it all, man. They've been fed this line of BS for the last several years, and as long as the check kept coming in and the lights were staying on and the beer was in the fridge, they would sit back and just and take it. They would believe that everything's going to be okay. But once the hard austerity choices have been made, not by them, for them, when it's been implemented onto them, they're going to get really, really, really mad. And we will see what we see inside of Europe, except worse, because it'll be in the United States of America, the reserve currency of the world, and it will be worse here than what we see going on in Europe. This will mandate the implementation of all this legislation that has been passed over the last 7 years. We're going to take our second break. We'll be right back with Eric Lovely and more Wide Awake News Radio. Guys, welcome back to Wide Awake News Radio. I'm Charlie McGrath, your host, along with co-host, friend, Eric Lovely, from his discreet location somewhere in the Rocky Mountain West. We do have a couple callers online. Stephen from Oregon and Randallstein from Minnesota. Stephen, I believe you called on Thursday to talk to Eric, and we didn't get you on in time before the end of the first hour. So, Stephen, thank you for calling back. I appreciate it. What is on your mind, sir? Stephen, do we have you still? All right. I'm going to look at this other message and see if we Stephen's
Moving
not. Okay, Stephen, Stephen, if you're listening, call back in. We'll get you on right away. Randall Steen from Minnesota, you are also holding, and you're up next. So, what is on your mind?
Yes, I really am trying to figure out the best course of action, whether it be homesteading or prepping, and I'm doing a bit of each. But I'd specifically like to know how Eric is managing to go outside the system. I was a former small business owner, and I had my face ripped off, basically. And I got to the point where I realized that being a businessman, that it was not worth keeping the doors open. So I had that good sense. But I wanted to know specifically, you've heard what's going on with the lemonade stands where they're shutting down, a girl's lemonade stand because. And to get to the point is, how are you making a go of it, and how do you keep enough revenue in the oil petrodollar so that you can pay your taxes but still not support the system?
That's a great question.
I just don't. I mean, to be real honest, what I do is, if you have a laborable skill or some type of talent, that's what I was talking about. I have been fortunate you can generate income through connecting with others who will trade talent for a wide variety of product, anywhere from food to silver to ammunition, and in the end result, if you have to, Federal Reserve notes. And it's a face-to-face handshake contract kind of deal, and that's the way it really works. And the problem is some people live in most areas. It is really difficult to come by that because it is so few like-minded individuals. It's the reason why I said you'll either have to build the community yourself, starting one individual at a time, meeting with people, convincing people, changing their minds. I mean, that's really what this is. This is about an idea change. So if you're looking for more of a community, I mean, in all honesty, to where you can bring a labor to market, bring a skill or a product to market, you can do that in places like a whole lot easier in Montana, Texas, places who still embrace the idea of a republic, but also at the same time, there is no cure. You simply just don't pay the taxes, and two, really one begets two. Eventually, it's a crash course. You are choosing to live a lifestyle that paints a giant bullseye in your head that either the IRS or some other individual institution or money collecting revenue agent of the government is going to attempt to take a giant crap on you, and then for you to defend that, it's going to spiral into much more dangerous and much more vital places and dangerous places to tread. That's why I tell people this is not an easy thing, but hopefully people understand.
What if he's just, Eric? What if he's just looking? I mean, I like your idea of living in rural America. I mean, because you can live in Montana or Wyoming or Idaho, and there's plenty of work that you can do that is either barter or you make your own arrangements. We'll just say, and you can make an existence with having as little reported Federal Reserve note income as possible.
Yeah. If you're living in an environment where the Federal Reserve note is going to be the number one thing in transaction, well, it's just a cash basis. Mend fences, mow grass, shovel sidewalks, chop firewood, grow vegetables, whatever you have to trade. And you start talking to your neighbors, and when your neighbors look at your garden, they, oh, look at all that stuff. Oh yeah, well, I'll sell you a head of lettuce for $2. I'll sell you eggs for $2, and you can take the Federal Reserve notes in, and then transfer them into, well, I'll pay my bills, and then okay, the bills are done. Now I'm going to liquidate and turn all this into ammunition, or I'm going to liquidate it and turn it all into other storable foods, or maybe storable water, or buying the different things that you need. This is really where we're at. We're at a society-changing event. So to tell you how to work within the system that you're attempting to kill is difficult. And I tell you, no matter what small way you attempt to work outside of the Federal Reserve system,
it helps.
it will help us, but eventually you're going to have to truly stand for what you believe in, because somebody's going to try and drop a load on you, no matter what level you are.
Eric, and Stephen, excuse me, Randallstein, this is a great topic, and I know Eric is very well versed in this, so I have a question there too. What is wrong with Randallstein or anybody else making a transition? If he's got to go to work for $15,000 a year that's going to be reported, then render unto Caesar whatever.
It's called the Trading with the Enemies Act. This is where it boils down. The Trading with the Enemies Act makes it illegal for any U.S. citizen, in other words, a corporate entity, human being, to use any other form of legal tender, except for debt-based money.
Right.
Because you're in debt. That's why the country is in what's called collections. It's in receivership. And it's not Department of Homeland Security. It's Department of Homeland Securities. People don't really look at the words and understand what it means. Under the Trading with the Enemies Act and the Volition of Tender Act, which most people don't even know existed, all boils down to this aspect that, according to the system, if you are a U.S. citizen, you are not allowed to trade or operate in any form other than direct barter or the Federal Reserve note. Well, then you're also trumped up by the courts to then tell you you're not legally allowed to dissolve your U.S. citizenship bond. That means it's slavery. It's no longer voluntary slavery. It's now involuntary slavery, but the courts don't matter. See, it's an evil cycle that continues to roll back around. Trust me. I've tried to play this game, and yes, I understand all the words and everything that is involved. And the bottom line answer the court gives you is, I don't care, we own you. That's the bottom line. So it doesn't matter how much mental hula hoops you can play, or how brilliant you are, or how right you are anymore. None of that matters. You're moving into,
I get that.
You're moving into the socialist system. And let me tell you, when Russia went through this social change, okay, only a little bit. They went from socialism to democracy, which is socialism light, okay? But in that time period, in the time period of Stalin, okay, 80 million people died. Okay, Stalin starved to death, just simply shut the roads down and turned the food flow off and starved almost 50 million of his own people. These are the type of events you're looking at going to happen, not just in America, but around the world. But it's going to happen right here in America. And you better be prepared for that. This is a society-changing event, forever and always.
No, I get that. Randallstein, did you want to respond to that? Because I got more questions on the topic.
I just, but I wanted to, that doesn't really answer how to get from A to Z. I mean,
that's kind of where I'm at too. Because go ahead.
I mean, I really want to, like, I talked to my sheriff. I gave him a copy of the Oath Keepers, and he said I'll follow any federal law. And so it's 4 years to the next election. But I mean, you save for me from going to the Pacific Northwest. I mean, I'm almost to the point where I'm going to join a Hutterite colony or a Amish colony, because I just don't like the way I live. I don't like how that I don't exercise my mind, my body, my rights, and I'm not free. And I'm almost willing just to say I'm going to divorce myself and get away from it and just be a recluse. I mean, I want to find someone that I don't want to. I will start this in my community, but there's save my church. There's just too darn few people that are going to listen to me.
All right, Randallstein, hang tight for a sec. We'll continue this after the break. Stephen is called back in. Stephen, I guarantee we're going to get you in the next segment. Hang tight, guys. We'll be back with Eric Lovely, more Wide Awake News Radio, just a few minutes. Hey guys.
And the break is coming up and whatnot, and I don't understand. See, the whole idea of it is you build it one individual at a time. If I meet some carpenters and I create an environment where I have conversations and I offer my services and say, would you trade services for services? I mean, it's called legwork. People, there aren't that many people until he wakes them up. There are others in his community, and that's why doing what I'm telling people to do takes real leadership ability. You're creating a community. You're not just wandering out your house and saying, "Oh, hey, there's that community I want to be part of that I've always dreamed of." It isn't there. We have to actually physically build it one block at a time. And that's the thing that throws me when people say, "Well, I don't understand how we transition." You just do. You
Well,
just
I
simply
can understand that, though. I mean,
make
no,
it
listen,
happen.
and that was going to be my follow up question, and I'll just ask now, and if we need to get into it on air, we're still on JTV, we can. But I can see where you want to go from A. He's talking going from A to Z. I'm just talking A to B, and if you're, I mean, look, people have asked me, where I think we're going, and I've said it's going to be a collapse. I believe we're going to have a collapse, and we're either going to be listening to the people who said that this was coming, and they've warned about it, and cried from the roofs about the monetary system that we have and how it brought us here, and how these global engineers have destroyed economies around the world for this one purpose. So we'll either listen to the people who were telling us this was coming, and that will be our last best hope for a return to a republic, or we're all going to go into slavery, and we're going to have the implementation of all this police state apparatus put on our back. But I've also said that in order for any real change to come, people are going to have to be awake, and the majority of the people are not going to be awake until they're affected in this collapse. So the best thing we can do, in a way, is help facilitate that, and that's why I've told people, if you qualify to get on something, to get on one program or another program, I'd rather see the money going to you than Goldman Sachs. I'd rather see it going to the people than to the interests that are destroying the economy. And if that is the case, more and more people are bellying up to the dole. That's just bringing the system down that much faster. It's unfortunate. A lot of these people don't realize that by belling up to it, they're going to bring about the demise of this current system even that much quicker. But it has to occur anyway. So I mean, I can see he's wanting to get from A to B, A to Z, but can you set up your infrastructure, your local infrastructure, where you're reaching out and you're talking to these folks about doing barter work or exchanging? Okay, I'm going to be brief. Welcome back to Wide Awake News Radio. Eric Lovely joining me tonight. We have Randallstein on the phone. We have Stephen on the phone. We're going to get both of these questions answered. And for those of you watching on Justin TV, you heard me trying to play a little bit of advocate here for Randallstein's position, because I could see trying to make this transition from A to B, and it's not just a cut and dry. Eric, most people don't have the fortitude to just say, that's it, I'm done. I'm not participating in this system anymore. I'm checking out. And I think there's a lot of people that want to set up an infrastructure where they're working in their community, trying to build up contacts and build up like-minded people that they'll exchange as much as they possibly can for barter, be it labor or whatever. And then they still have to participate in this system, because you can't go buy a gallon of gas because you know how to roof somebody's house. So, I mean, is there something to be said for, earning what you need to earn in order to put a roof over your house, to put, to put food on the table in some cases, to put energy into your vehicle in some cases, and then, render on to Caesar what is his, and the whole time, and in the meantime, you're setting up this infrastructure to be more in the line with a barter type system.
Yeah, first off, Caesar never owned anything, so he shouldn't get a plug nickel. And that is really what it boils down to. It's really about face-to-face communication and doing legwork. So if you have a roof, whatever skill it is that you can do, you maintain your present system the way it is. And then you say, okay, well, how am I going to get myself out of this system and transition into this lifestyle? So you set yourself plan and goals. Well, in 6 months, I want to be bringing in 1/3 of the amount of money that I make, or 3 months, or however your goal is. In 6 months, we'll use that as a rough number. I want to be making 1/3 of my income that I make at my job. A year from now, I want to be bartering 2/3 of the income that I make at my job, and continue to expand that bartering operation until it is equal to what you make at your place of employment, and then stop going. This is how you make the transition, and there is no easy roll from one point to the next. And I know we have another caller, and that's what I'm saying. It is very long. This is very arduous. That you got to be in it to win it, and you got to be self-motivating. And you can't let people get you down. Even if you find one, then you and that person can go out and find another. And then the four of you go out and each one of you find another until everything continues to mesh and the society starts to generate.
Exponential growth, it's called, and you're absolutely right. Randallstein, I want you to finish up your thought, and I want to get to Stephen before we run out of time. Randallstein, we still have you?
I just wanted to end with those who are not eminent will lose their domain, and it's coming. It's coming.
I agree with you, brother. I think there's no doubt that that will be put to a test. And again, I like what Eric said about going out, find another like-minded person, and then doubling from there. And I also think just the thought process alone of trying to establish, again, an infrastructure that is outside of the current economic model is mandatory. You got to be thinking about this. What are you good at? What aren't you good at? What do you have to rely on other people for? Because regardless if people are getting ready to go into that place or not, I think that place is coming to us. Randallstein, thank you very much for the phone call. All right, let's go to Stephen, who's been holding for a long time and called in about 3 times to talk to you, Eric Lovely. Stephen, welcome back to the program.
Hey, you guys. No, all is good. All is good. And first, with you, Charlie, I like you a lot. You're someone that I can, tell other people to listen to because you're layman's terms, and you get it right out there. And you have someone like Eric on your show who gives more deeper insight, and it's just awesome. You guys make a very good team. But if you would give me 20 seconds, I kind of wanted to lighten the mood. That's all I wanted to do tonight is lighten the mood a little bit. And
yeah, I'll tell you what, man. You got 5 minutes, so go ahead.
No, I only got 20 seconds, and I'm getting tired now. I had a song that came up that would be so perfect for the voting boost right now, and I just wanted to lighten the mood a little bit. So let me do this for like 15 seconds, and it will be good. Okay. Hold on. Don't know why I came here tonight. I got the feeling that something ain't right. I'm so scared in case I fall off my chair. I don't know how I'll get down the stairs. We got clowns to the left of us, jokers to the right. Here I am stuck in the middle with you. Okay, thanks for letting me have a little bit of fun, okay?
That's awesome, man.
It's a good song for the voting booth, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. We are stuck in the middle, no doubt about it.
All right.
Eric,
hey,
you want to comment?
Charlie, I think you guys are awesome. I'll tell you later about more important things, but I just wanted to have a little bit of fun.
All right, man. Thanks for lightening it up a bit. I appreciate you holding for so long. All right, Eric, there you go. We're stuck in the middle with a bunch of clowns. Left of me and right of me.
Yeah, I was actually thinking of something else right when he said that, an old kid's joke where you say, hey, left, never mind. And,
yeah. It's something about the beat between us.
That's really, people they really, when they're looking at the events, okay, this is the reason why I tell people to spend time with your wives, to spend time with your children, to do things that may seem, there's so many people say, well, going out and playing catch with your kid or going for a walk with your wife is a stupid waste of time right now because you have so many other things you need to be doing to prepare. But I'm telling you right now, if when these events start to take place and they really start to unfold and affect each and every individual, you better have those memories. You better have the visions in your mind of what it is that you're fighting for. That when you are setting up your community and you're attempting to do the things that you want to do, your children's the idea of playing catch with your child should be in your mind, because that's what you're fighting for. You can't try to save the world. Okay, stop trying to save the world. Stop trying to take on a bigger chunk than you can take on. Let idiots like me do stuff like that. You fight for what is right in front of your face. Fight for what is tangible, what you love, what you can't live without. And for the people who don't have those things, I would, make up one if you need it, something, because that's what's going to carry you through. I mean, the stress.
You're 100% right. You're 100% right, Eric. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I wanted to make this point. In fact, I don't know if you saw. I recently did a little like a 20-minute video with my brother where we worked a get home plan from work to home in a crisis situation. Did you get a chance to watch that?
Oh yeah. I watch
Okay.
all the videos you put out.
You're a good man. You're a good man, Eric. That's why the numbers keep. They keep. I think you watch them more than once. That's why they get so many views. It's because of, you're working for me now. I appreciate that. But at the end of that video, I specifically said that we have to remember. Look, and I don't. Most people probably haven't put themselves in a situation like that or something extremely mentally challenging. And I think now some of the most challenging things I've done in my life. Certainly some endurance runs, things that are, you're out for 4, 5, 6, 7 hours, and it just absolutely is horrendous. Mentally is the most, mentally getting through it is the most, always the most difficult thing. And so at the end of that video, even though it was just one night out at 19 degrees, that's really, really miserable. And if you're put in that situation and you don't understand why you're doing it, if you don't have your family, your loved ones, your friends, whatever your motivation is at the forefront of your thought process, then it's going to be really easy just to give up. Well, screw this. I'll go stand in a FEMA line because at least I'll have, 3 hots and a cot and I'll be taken care of. If we don't understand why we're doing the things we do, including spreading this message, because it takes some mental strength to keep the message out there, especially when you're getting ridiculed from friends or family. It is hard to keep this momentum and keep the message going. But Eric's 100% right. If you don't understand, if you don't have in your mind why you're doing what you're doing, then you're wasting your time because you will fail. If you don't have your family and your family doesn't have you, it is a losing proposition from the word go. Eric?
And I could also say that you can make it on your own and things, but here's the people who are going to have the hardest point. Okay, and this is heartbreaking. It is, I don't know what to call it. It's heartbreaking to the nth degree. Take it to the infinity. But if you're in a situation where your partner isn't in agreement with you, or your children are seriously rebelling, and they're going to be Obamanites. You see, that's the whole thing about civil war. Okay, it's brother and brother who break ties. They can no longer be brother and brother, father and son, sister and brother. These are the things that are going to take place. So if you don't have the type of individual that develops those kind of feelings, or you have faith, or your will to survive, your whatever it is that you need to cling on to get yourself mentally prepared, because there are going to be so many people that when it boils down to it, oh, well, my wife, she's completely against everything, so I just can't take it anymore. The stress is so great. Let's just go down to the FEMA line and say to hell with it.
Right. That's absolutely right. And you know what? A lot of people are going to do that. A lot of people are going to, be in a situation where, imagine. I mean, and I think that's a great exercise everybody should do is, imagine what it would be like just not to have power. Look at these people in New York right now that are going to be out for 7 to 10 days. A lot of these people are going to go through hell. They're going to go through hell because they had no clue what it's like to be put in a situation where you don't have the basic amenities you're used to every single day. It's going to be real easy to give up. And we've been conditioned in such a way that we have this built-in ability to become very malleable very quickly. Eric?
Yeah, but I think it's malleable because they have no backbone. Now, I realize that seems mean to say and to some people, but if they had foresight, if they were thinking and they were prudent individuals and they were doing the right things and making the right decisions, they wouldn't be caught with their pants down. And their will and ease to bow down and accept those, they're already accepting them by turning over their own independent thought to be ready for such things. I think these people, they're already from birth and through school. I'm sorry to say, ladies and gentlemen, I think at least 6 out of 10 of the individuals in this country, 6 out of every 10, are going to be rejects. In other words, they're going to go get in the FEMA line. They're pre-programmed for that response. They don't think to do anything else. They don't think for themselves. They don't think about what might happen tomorrow. They just think, grocery store's there. It'll be there tomorrow morning. It'll be there tomorrow afternoon. They have no concept. They have no vision of reality. I hear the music.
Well, I'm glad you did, because I did not. All right, guys, hang tight. We're going to be back on the backside of this with Paul Scan 72, also known as the leader of the Black Ops Trading Room, Dex. And he's got a take on the current events that you are going to want to hear. We're going to be back in just a few minutes. Hang tight.